Welcome to another episode of Not for the Weak-Minded. Now this episode is going to be about Churchill and his connections to royalty and Freemasonry and basically their current agendas connected to Satanism, the Catholic Church and history. So let's get into it. First of all, he's done many things, and I'd like to just scroll over here and just look at the symbolism itself within these orders of the Garter, for example. Now this obviously is the English flag, but the origin of the English flag is Templar in origin, and they can be seen in country flags, and these people have manipulated nations. They manipulated our nation against the German nation, and have created all scenarios because they're the orchestrators of all our chaos, because they're using chaos to create order, and that order is to do with their New World Order agenda, to destroy everything, to create everything in their own image, and to turn humanity mentally inside out. Not only that, but to depopulate us to the point where we're infertile, which is going to happen. Anyway, I've kind of diverted off Winston Churchill already. Next symbol. Again, the connection between the Templars and the Vikings has not really been fully explained to many people, but the Viking invasions were all orchestrated by the same people. We're drawn into fantasies and illusions as to their true nature. But yeah, this is another video in the making, to be honest, but I've got so much stuff on the go already. We have to look at that a bit closer, I think. Another day. Other symbols. B's Deputy Lieutenant, Fellowship of the Royal Society, and member of the Royal Academy of Arts. Rah! Anyway, let's get into his childhood, because this is where it begins in trying to understand Freemasonry. And basically, when you're born into royalty or the connections to these elite groups of people, child abuse is rife. You need to understand that basically they get molested and essentially moulded into what they want them to be through understanding of their personality. Now, by the time they are 6, there was a study called the Dresden study. I didn't bring it up, there's no page for it. I always think of, saying things now out loud from the heart, and there's always more things to think of and say. But anyway, the Dresden study suggests that, knows that by the time you're 6 years old, what type of personality you're going to have. Whether you're going to be a protagonist or anything, whatever other types. So essentially what they do is they do personality tests, and abuse them, and then basically mould them to become what they want them to be. So whether it be politicians or musicians or actors, these are the kind of deeper connections you must see within our society. Now, by the end of the video, I hope that you'll kind of get to the deepness and level of their deception and the amount of connections there is between, in this case, Churchill, Freemasonry, Satanism, paedophilia, and the current agendas going on with LGBT and pushing it into primary schools. So please, if you are still listening, please continue to do so, as I will be trying to shed light onto these people's motives. So anyway, as a child, let's get into the picture. Looks a bit very, very, very unhappy there, I'd say. In this picture here, he doesn't look a particularly happy child, and in fact I'd say that they've asked him to pose in this way, in a quite camp way indeed. Now we're going to get into him being gay and stuff. No, the gay connection to Freemasonry is again another massive link. This is not attack on the regular people. You know what you do beyond closed doors to regular people is fine. This is just, unfortunately, they're using these scenarios to try and push their agendas and their ideologies, and now it's going to go into the classrooms. So this kid here, he don't look happy at all. He looks very, very unhappy. Poor beggars, they have to go for all this and end up becoming, puppets for evil. When they were innocent, So, the connection to him being royal, so to speak, being born in Blenheim Palace. However, obviously, when you look into history, John Churchill got given this land because of his victories in war. So he might not be royal in blood, but they reward their own nevertheless, which is more than likely the case that he is related in blood. So this goes back, as you can read there, 1702, John Churchill, the first Earl of Marlborough. And so, in the eyes of the aristocracy, he is an elite. And that's about it. If you want to read more, you can. I'm just moving on. So, here he is. Another picture of him. Doesn't look particularly happy in that one either, does he? His eyes. Not particularly happy at all. So, as I said, descendant of Duke Marlborough. Born in Blenheim Palace. You can look into history. Did many crazy things. Was put in power for, many, many good jobs because of where he was born, basically. And then we're getting into the LGBT and stuff, related aspects. Now, I'll just read it out. In 1895, he was accused of having committed acts of gross immorality of the Oscar Wilde type, while a cadet at Sandhurst. Churchill sued the accuser for defamation and was awarded $400 in damages. Throughout his life, Churchill showed little interest in women other than his wife and his affair, enjoyed the company of homosexuals, and was deeply attracted to male friends and his long-standing secretary Edward Marsh, although there is no evidence of physical relationships. The writer, W. Somerset Maugham, I don't even say that, is said to have asked Churchill whether he ever had homosexual experience, and been told, "I once went to bed with Ivor Novello. It was very musical." In February 1954, Churchill's cabinet discussed the possible decriminalisation of homosexuality following an increase in the number of convictions for gay offences. Now, I guarantee these gay offences were probably paedophilic, but, people being locked up for being gay is wrong, isn't it? I agree. Churchill said, "Remember that we can't expect to put the whole world right with a majority of 18. He considered that public opinion was not yet calling for a change in the law, but holding an inquiry might be a way forward. So that was when the Wolferdom Committee was appointed. Other quotes, quote tribute to Churchill: "The traditions of the Royal Navy are nothing but rum, sodomy, and the lash. It is impossible to obtain a conviction for sodomy from an English jury. Half of them don't believe that it can physically be done, and the other half are doing it." Wow. You might as well legalise sodomy as recognise the Bolsheviks. Now, the Bolshevik movement as well, they created that, they, look into it, the Freemason connections with the Bolsheviks. "On the coldest night of the year, it makes you proud to be British." On hearing that Ian Harvey had been caught with a guardsman in St. James's Park. So, next page. Who is Ivor Novello? Well, he was a musician. Born in a Welsh family, became a very popular actor, composer and playwright. Got a prize named after him. But, he was an open gay. Apparently, in theatrical circles, his homosexuality was an open secret. Although he had a life partner, he was known to have many lovers. He's claimed to have been the lover of bisexual West Indian cabaret singer and pianist Leslie Hutchinson, who had also been the lover of Cole Porter. Well, that's relevant. There is a story mentioned by Peter Tatchell that Winston Churchill had a one-off fling with Ivor Novello. So, connections are there. Like to hang around gay men, because Freemasonry is basically gay men, and I've got other things to show about that later. Not this documentary, but another one. So the Watford Report was about, a committee to no longer lock up people that were doing homosexual behaviour and making it a criminal offence, which is right, fair enough, fair dues. As long as you're not doing it in the public, it's great. Do whatever you want behind closed doors. Do whatever you want. So, arguably, what is to be said when you begin to search Freemasonry and Winston Churchill is that actually he left. He was, he signed in 1901 and then resigned in 1931. But you cannot actually leave these groups, only through death. You're sworn to a vow of secrecy. For some reason this one is not loading. Let's try it again. About the history of Winston Churchill. Secret gay history of Winston Churchill. But for some reason it's not playing ball. Here we go. So, secret gay history of Winston Churchill. Churchill was accused of committing acts of gross immorality of the Wascarrow type, as it said in the overhang. When the first discussions about whether to decriminalise gay sex in the UK reached the Cabinet, Winston Churchill was Prime Minister. His words at the meeting set in motion the creation of the Wolferdom Report, a government-sanctioned investigation into homosexuality. This would eventually lead to partial decriminalisation of gay sex. But the Prime Minister did this at a time when LGBTI lives were totally closeted, and while leading the right-wing Conservative Party. So, did he simply hold liberal views, or was he leading a secret double life? Churchill's first recorded brush with homosexuality happened when he was 21. In 1895, as a young cavalry officer, he faced accusations of committing acts of gross immorality, blah blah blah, at Sandhurst. Cadets, not just one cadet, multiple cadets. Sandhurst was as much a British institution that it is today. It was the training ground for British Army officers who controlled the Empire. More recently, modern-day Princes William and Harry both trained at Sandhurst. Lots of fucking shit happens at Sandhurst that you should research. It is atrocious. Some of the stuff about women, though, they treat them in Ireland. Awful. Churchill successfully sued the accuser for defamation, being awarded 400 in damages. But this story leads historian Michael Bloch to describe him as far from being straightforwardly heterosexual. Makes you proud to be British. And basically, was Churchill secretly gay? There's little evidence to suggest Churchill was gay, Bloch said in The Guardian. However, there is. However, because you see the Freemason connections, you understand what happened to him as a child, you understand that you know, that's the way you have to be if you want to be an elite. Paedophile. Moving on. However, he also says Britain, most famous Prime Minister, never showed much interest in many other women other than his wife and his secret affair. Bloch describes how Churchill had a series of close platonic relationships with attractive young men. Right. His friendship with the wispy, falsetto-voiced Eddie Marsh was one of the more famous examples. The International Churchill Society describes the strikingly handsome Marsh as attracted to other young men in a necessarily platonic way. Officially, he was Churchill's private secretary, giving him blowjobs on the now and then. But they had a close friendship. When Marsh died, he received a posthumous knighthood. Right, because I'm going to talk about knighthood as well, and Freemasonry in a bit, and how that's connected as well, and how paedophilia and the 33-degree Mason is connected with knighthood and paedophilia. Well, anyway, moving on. Last bit. No evidence exists that the MP ever concerned himself with Marsh's private life, and yet both Bloch concludes that ultimately Churchill was romantically drawn to men rather than women, even if his relationships with them stopped short of the physical. Right. Actually, Marsh's biography describes Marsh in simpler words. By modern labels, perhaps we've been reaching for a homo-romantic label for this description, but Churchill's death came in 1965, 2 years before England and Wales finally made gay sex legal, so he never saw the passage of the bill that would make even a discussion about this remotely possible. So did Churchill have a secret double life? Well, maybe we may never know. Right. Of course he did. He's a royal, born into Freemasonry, absolute closet gay, paedophile. So, was Winston Churchill a member of the Illuminati? Shock claims former MP. Sir Winston's birthplace, as I'm saying, aristocratic family and political career, according to truth seekers, are proof he was recruited into the New World Order cult. He wasn't recruited, he was born into it. It comes as the terrorists allege that Big Ben is Illuminati headquarters. Further, their claims that the World War II Prime Minister must have been connected. And he was. There is a massive connection between him, Hitler, the Red Cross, the Catholic Church, and Freemasonry. They created it. They created the event. Our deaths during these wars were sacrifices to them, so that they can create a new world order. And they've been playing the long game, massive long game. We're near the end of that now, though. The front porch ceiling is ornately painted with 6 eyes, a key icon to the Illuminati meaning truth and wisdom, and the gardens feature 2 obelisks which are associated with the New World Order. This is Blenheim Palace, I believe, they're talking about now. Yeah. Ego motives, which are allegedly connected to the mysterious cult, which they are repeatedly used in the palace's interior. According to the truth seekers, Sir Winston's stands for wisdom, by the way. The owl. According to truth seekers, Sir Winston's aristocratic background as the grandson of the 7th Duke of Marlborough would have meant inherited membership into the elusive occult, as the Illuminati recruits members of the elite. A group known as the Cutting Edge Ministers claim that Spencer's family, of which Princess Diana and Winston Churchill are descendants, are deeply Illuminati through the presence of the occult symbol of the red scallop shell on their crest. Right. So yes, university signs are Illuminati signs, Freemason signs. The symbolism. It goes back a very long way. Even some of Sir Winston's famous quotes have been seen by some as having a New World Order undertone. Now I'm going to show you some articles in a bit about New World Order quotes. And guess who's in it? Churchill. Funny that. Not a Freemason though, is he? The former Prime Minister once famously said, "Men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most of them pick themselves up and hurry off as nothing ever happened." Yeah, you can't do that in this world. Ignorance is not bliss, alright? Awareness is everything. It bears an eerie resemblance to the Illuminati claim that many humans will not understand the truth or experience their awakening. Sir Winston also said, never believe any war will be smooth and easy. The statesman who yields to war fever must realise that once the signal is given, he is no longer the master of policy, but the slave of unforeseeable and uncontrollable events, which we all are. We're all slaves of unforeseeable and uncontrollable events. And they're the ones manipulating and controlling it. And this goes deep to say this, but it has to happen for a reason. And those of us that are awakening and doing something about it by doing videos and talking about it, or trying to wake people up, your family members, to evil and everything else, what's going on, that's exactly what you're meant to be doing. We've been born into a world where we truly do not know nothing, and in order to understand it, you literally have to understand it and delve into it as much as you possibly can yourself. And when you do that, you'll realise that everything's based on false principles. It's a lie. These people are real. They do horrible things. They are literally the epitome of evil, and yet we all work for them, and it's something that we all must be aware of. Something that we all must wake up to and understand. Because they are the bringers of chaos, but they're also going to be the bringers of light. And that is going to be, the false messiah. They're going to say, and this involves technology and beyond most people's comprehension due to their perception of reality. So, the Illuminati also believe that war brings about chaos and claim through their secret society policies that we bring order to the world battled with chaos, as I just said. According to the new official's Illuminati website, Illuminati members have guided Earth's most dominant creature through periods of interpersonal chaos, environmental outbreaks, and other mass attacks that threaten humanity with extinction. And we are on a mass genocide that's taking place, and people walking around like nothing's going on, nothing's happening. Come on. Former Prime Minister Gordon Brown was also alleged outed as a senior cult official in an anonymous blog from a person who claiming to be a former Illuminati member. Of course he was. All politicians that are in the limelight are these, bar few. The alleged ex-member wrote, Gordon, and they act so well that you don't even know if they are or not. But they do the signs and symbols the same as all the others. They let each other know who they are, who they work for. And this is why you can get it through understanding repetition of signs and symbols and the secret language that they get taught. You'll see it yourself, clear as day, and these things are hidden in plain sight. Just like my recent research was very influential in the Illuminati until he decided to begin playing his way. That's why they removed it from office. Nah. My opinion is that he's still a key player. Right. People that forget often that Just because they're out of the limelight, that they're not doing things that are just as important, and how sometimes they can go 20 years without being on the TV, and then all of a sudden come up and they'll be everywhere, and they don't question it and go, why is that now? You know, why is that happening now? What have they been doing? Oh. So, MQ magazine, Brother Winston. So the Brotherhood is the Freemasonry. So when they talk about the Brotherhood, when they talk about the work, the great work, it's all about, you know, their agendas and Freemasonry. So he was a very public figure, and he was a very private Freemason. And as I said in the beginning, he got in the lodge 1901, 24th of May 1901. And down here it says, in Matey's autobiography, where is it? There. By John Murray in London 1941, Picture of Life. That month was initiated as a Freemason at Stanholme Lodge. While waiting for the ceremony, I walked around and around Golden Square with Winston Churchill and another candidate. So he was there with Winston Churchill, and then it says within 2 months, on the 19th of July, Winston was passed to the 2nd degree, and on the 5th March 1902 he became a Master Mason. All 3 ceremonies being conducted in Studholme, right? That means he is now a 33 degree Mason, right? There's no way in hell he is ever going to resign, which is why in this place, Churchill Society London, where they were asking for his resignation letters and corresponding stuff, that they never replied to them. You know, these were trying to set up a 50-year anniversary, but he writ to the Freemasons asking for stuff, and then they never got anything.